This isn't really need an introduction. This is part 2 of Shitty Metal Takes. Right now, we are specializing in new metal. Obviously, I had to pull this one up. I haven't looked through these yet, so yep, let's go. So this was my story on Instagram, guys. If you want to join, you may get featured in one of my next videos, but your name won't be shown for privacy reasons. What are your takes on new metal, whether you like or dislike it? Okay, there's so many. I like it, but it mostly feels way too commercial. Well, yes, I think it is way more commercial than the rest of metal subgenres. I think it really stands out because of that. Maybe like against modern metalcore. For example, Limp Bizkit, I think with their videos, they were really commercial, like the controversies. It was all just a really big, everything was a commercial stunt with Limp Bizkit. There was always like controversy, you know, the visuals are good, the videos are good, like the marketing is good. Like that one video of Fred Durst, like just showing up like at a, like, I don't know, it was like a fight, like a wrestling match, and there's like a bunch of like motorcycles, and there's fire, and it's also American swimming as well. It's like really crazy. We'll get into it. It's not to my taste, but I greatly respect the focus on songwriting and willingness to progress. Yeah, maybe, you know, like it's actually, I think it's characterized as being experimental, you know, like adding the DJs and stuff like that. I think that's a really important part of it too. So I would say it's pretty experimental in a way. And someone here says, most experimental metal. So I don't think it's the most experimental. Like there's, like maybe that's the most experimental metal we'll ever see reach the mainstream. There's like a shit ton of experimental metal, like actual like super experimental metal. You know, it's too experimental, like the experiments have gone crazy. It turns into like an artsy kind of thing rather than music actually for normal people to listen to. It's like too niche. This person says, I think it's the greatest thing ever made. It definitely had a huge influence in the evolution of metal. I'm not sure if it's the greatest thing to ever have been made, okay, dude? But I do think that it did have a huge influence because some people could connect those elements of new metal, like with any very popular genre coming to light, and started pushing that into some other metal music with different influences and start to churn out a lot of crazy new stuff, you know? Someone says, new metal isn't a subgenre, it was just a natural progression of hardcore. Now, I don't really agree with this one because I listen to hardcore a lot, and hardcore is more like, you know, like you would never catch a DJ on hardcore. Like I think at least my hardcore bands never used a DJ. I feel like hardcore is like way more intense than most new metal. New metal is kind of its own popified version of metal, but pop in the 2000s version, not the version from today. The strangest metal genre. It actually makes me uncomfortable sometimes. Honestly, it depends on the band because there are so many like crazy avant-garde like metal bands. So I wouldn't say it's the craziest one. Limp Bizkit first album so good, but then they became gay. I like the first album. I like Counterfeit, and I mean they definitely changed their sound to a more mainstream one, but it's good music. You know, there's a lot to say about Limp Bizkit. I think their music is good. I don't listen to them as much, but, you know, actually, I feel like they've even gotten better at marketing, or at least their marketing team got better through time, because I went to see them live on Lollapalooza last year. I think it was last year? Yeah, earlier this year. Their set list was so crazy. They were only playing the good songs, and they even played a cover of Rage Against the Machine. Only a freaking genius can do all that. I mean, not only do they have an incredible number of good and known songs, but they also know how to do a set list that pleases the crowd. That really surprised me. Clearly, Fred Durst and like the people from the band, they have a great vision regarding all this. So yeah, it is, again, it is commercialized, but being commercial isn't bad. You know, it just doesn't have to be pushed in your face the whole time. This one's funny. Very repetitive. Good riffs, but they never resolve. It's like jacking off and never finishing. Again, it depends. It really depends. But some softer music, as new metal has gone progressing through and becoming like more melodic accidentally, that kind of stuff does happen sometimes. Default metal, surface level, thinking that it makes it different is coping. I think it definitely makes you different from the normal people, you know? Here we are in a niche part of society. It's not super niche, like there's so many niches in the world, this one is one of them. You will go on the street and you will probably see a few metalheads if you look, but most people listen to what's on the radio. For example, a high school kid starts learning about new metal and starts listening to all these bands, like even if it's like the most surface level ones that I still think are good, like Slipknot, Limp Bizkit. They start listening to Deftones. They are different, they feel different, they are different. Some of these kids, they're kids, they have a way of being, maybe this difference they have with other people, they overblow it and they start like being like acting like, oh my god, I'm so cool. But everyone grows out of that, and if you're like a real dedicated metalhead, if you actually really like the sound of metal and you actually get involved in it, then you're eventually going to start branching out and listening to different stuff. So yeah, I don't know, I do think that anyone who listens to this kind of alternative music is different, and they are kind of alternative in some degree. It's great. Everyone can get into it. I've listened to it since I was 7 and now I'm 17. That's really good, and I do think that everyone can get into it. I think that it's the closest thing we have to good popular music, because there's one thing that is pop from 2025 and pop from 2005. I think that music back then, like the popular music that was being pushed out into the mainstream, was way better than what we have now. Like personally, I don't really like the popular music of today. There are some songs that I like, but I feel like everything has gotten so global, so commercialized, so TikTokified that it just becomes very plain for me to listen to. Back then we had some more R&B influences, hip-hop influences. We had a shit ton of cool artists. Right now we do have those, and I'm sure there's a lot of great music being pushed out, but it's not just mainstream enough for me to consider it or know of it, since I'm not in the pop sphere. So I do think that it's the closest thing that we have to good pop that most people like, along with some heavier stuff that normal people who don't have a trained ear can enjoy too. So that's why I say, like, usually you will start someone off on new metal. Someone says it would probably have a better reputation without gimmicks like masks and costumes. I mean, yeah, but people are haters of anything that is different. Like, I don't think it would have a better reputation. I just think it would have a lesser reputation, because gimmicks and masks are the thing that makes it stand out a lot. Again, I bring Limp Bizkit so many times during this video, and I will probably continue to, but Fred Durst with his little red cap, or Slipknot with their masks and stuff like that. They had to bring out their Party City wigs to the show. Like, otherwise people wouldn't have listened to them. I feel like gimmicks and masks and costumes are what they are. They are marketing. There's this typical like metalhead guy that actually exists that is like, oh well, I wish they wouldn't do that and stuff like that, because like, damn, I just feel like these people are just like party poopers. Some people enjoy it, so let them enjoy it. The mask thing has become better. It has become modernized in a good way, in an interesting way. So why not allow people to use costuming and stuff like that to express themselves? Someone here says some are good, some are not, like the other music genres. People who hate it are only try-hard cool guys. If they're actually actively saying like all the time like, oh my god, I hate it so much because it's so poser, it's so mainstream. I don't know, some people have their ideals on what metal should be, and I just kind of stay out of it. I wouldn't turn it off if it was on, but I also wouldn't turn it on. I agree in some part. When you're getting used to like heavy stuff, eventually that heavy for normal people just becomes boring. The other day, Green Day came to my country not long ago. I live in Argentina. For those of you who don't know, Aguante Mexico. I listened to some Green Day and I was like, this is not heavy. But then I realized that like normal people who don't listen to this stuff, they actually feel like it's heavy, and they think it's heavy just because of like the small guitars that it has. To me, that's boring because I'm used to something different. It will probably bore you if you're into heavier stuff. Love it. The hate it gets is because it did something cool and different that elitists hate. That's kind of the point I'm making too. I think that when you try to change things, there's always going to be someone mad. But if you don't change stuff, eventually it's going to die out. Best metal subgenre out there. Iconic bands, incredible riffs, great personalities. I feel like this commercial status that new metal has forced people who wanted to participate on it to like make themselves more interesting. So I think that's actually good, because I see so many death metal bands. They all sound the fucking same. They all look the fucking same. It's 5 guys with a black shirt on, and that's it, you know? And one of them has a beard, the other one has a long hair, and maybe it's the same person. If you're a person and you as a band, you want to like get famous, you can just slap on like the black outfit and go ahead with it and not do anything interesting. I feel like that's inexcusable. In this era, I feel like it's inexcusable. You can still do it and you can still go ahead with it and be super cool. Like for example, Gojira, they're a band who just I'm gonna find a picture on the internet and they're all going to be dressed in black. Like I just know it, please put it here. But you know, they had their own aesthetic going on. Like it was not on the band members, but it was on their cause and on their imagery. The world and nature and stuff like that was what makes Gojira so important and so interesting nowadays. Like their cause, their artistry. It's all about either dressing cool or having a concept, or both and be godly. So you either dress cool and have no fucking concept, or you dress in a boring way and you have an amazing concept. You just can't have like a completely unoriginal band. And I feel like, I know someone's going to say, yeah, but it's about the music, not the visuals all the time. It's about the music. Just listen to the music. If you like the music, then that's it. That's what it should be. But it isn't. Personally, I love nu metal. It's a genre where artists can be extremely emotionally open. Yeah, maybe, but I think that mostly, I think in metal in general, people can be emotionally open and raw because of the nature of the sound. I feel like the more known nu metal bands are emotional in their lyrics, survivorship bias. What Gerard Way said about it. What did Gerard Way say? I detested nu metal. I thought it kind of set us back to the Stone Age as far as rock's concerned. I'm not trying to generalize about it too much, but of the bands that kind of led that thing, and I won't name them, it seemed to me that they encouraged sexism, homophobia, and other forms of ignorance. At least the nu metal I've heard, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not sure why that would be, but if any of you have any idea, then let me know. I really love nu metal. I think it has inspired more artists and maintained its essence as a style. Okay, someone else here said like it wasn't just one thing also. I'm sorry, I skipped that one. What is most interesting about nu metal is that it doesn't have a specific aesthetic, but their aesthetic is more 2000s fashion brought into metal. That's what I think it is. We have again Limp Bizkit with their hip-hop vibes in styling and stuff, and then we have Korn with the tracksuits and the dreads. We have Evanescence, for example, which Amy Lee is dressed in like a, I'm going to say this so wrong, it's going to be so bad. It's like a casual gothic cool vibe, mall goth-ish. So it's not like they all follow this exact trend, like for example with black metal, which is all like mostly about corpse paint, just like demonic pagan show. But nu metal is so diverse that it's a really hard thing to kill. In my opinion, it's one of the most fun and laid back subgenres, and because of that, it's easy to approach for everyone. I think so too, because the stuff that I mentioned before, I think it's an attractive thing, even for people who are not into the subgenre, especially for people who are not into the subgenre of metal. Nu metal gets extremely boring and repetitive as you progress to the genre. I feel like this is kind of like, and again, I'm going to use so many terms incorrectly. This is just the way I talk, okay? There's like this band that is like the canon, the beauty canon for all the rest of the bands, and then there's a lot of like little small bands that sound exactly the same, but like they're like the cheap Walmart version of the bigger band. So for example, there's a ton of bands try to copy Korn or Evanescence or whatever nu metal band, and so like eventually you just keep listening, and then it's hard to find the actual original ones because there are so many that are inspired by one specific artist and they just do it in a shitty amateurish way. So eventually it does get boring. Or like for example, on the other hand, we have people who try to be like more experimental to not fall into this exact phenomena, and they end up making something weird and unnatural. Loving nu metal nowadays feels illegal, the way everyone's so quick to call it cheeks. In this alternative sphere, it's natural for people to reject these mainstream ideals and species, to say it in some kind of way. So when something like gets super popular, like on TikTok and stuff like that, you don't want to associate yourself with those kind of people. You're like, oh no, I don't like that, I want to listen to extreme metal, because you don't want to be thrown in the pile with all those. I want more female lead singers. this is an anomaly. I think personally, in this, I may be called a pick-me for this. I swear I'm not trying to do any of that, okay? But I think that male voices, at least is what I am more used to in terms of this music. I just think it fits better, sounds better. There are some female artists that I really like, but not in this specific sphere. I don't know, it just brings a different feeling, I guess, but I feel like since it's not that popular and I haven't gotten that into it, I didn't have the chance to find that many cool female singers with some awesome instrumentals on the back. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it would be interesting, and I do wish to see more people doing that. I think it's fun. It can be a bit shallow, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be complex all the time. I do agree with that a lot. Again, I said in the previous Shitty Metal Takes video that my take was that new metal is more about fun and about the energy rather than the complex feelings and emotions, you know? It is sometimes, but not all the time, and that's okay too. It doesn't have to be that complicated just because of the style of the music. The sound and feeling of new metal has not been successfully replicated since the 2000s. Maybe it has to do with the actual music influences of the time. Like if you have, for example, your reference band can be Deftones, but Deftones influences couldn't be Deftones because they were Deftones. They had other artists' influences that you didn't grow up listening to, or you weren't influenced by them because you were not a musician or because you listened to some other stuff. So if you try to copy, like, it just becomes like a copy of a copy of a copy, and then eventually like it's not a copy anymore, it's something else. But I do not think it's bad to let new music in, new ideas in. That makes the time more special too. One of the easiest metal genres to get into if you don't listen to metal. Exactly. I think new metal fits a wide range of styles, which allows artists to grow. Amazing genre. That's an interesting take. It is not a shitty take. But yeah, basically you're not forced to be doing anything specific when you're making new metal. It's not so set straight on the rules, so you can play around with it a lot too. And then it's okay. It kind of feels like the junk food of metal. Not a lot of substance, but a little bit is cool. I agree with that too. That's kind of how I would describe it. You know, it's fun, it's easy, it's digestible, but it doesn't give you like too much food for thought, you know, pun not intended. System of a Down is single-handedly the best new metal band ever. Fight me. I think it's one of the best bands of that era in general, not only new metal. Someone should put country in new metal. My crew hate it, think it's ridiculous, poser shit. But nostalgia. It can be poser shit, but you know, a poser can also be someone who says like, oh, new metal sucks so much, you should only listen to Behemoth. I fuck with Limp Bizkit but hate most of the other stuff. There would be no Glitter On without it, so I don't know. Mixed. And then it's not the best or the heaviest, but at the end of the day, it is pretty cool. And Linkin Park is peak. At the end of the day, I think that music is to have fun with and not take that seriously. Take seriously, use it for what you want to use it, whether that be emotional release or fun or whatever it is you want to let out, because music is art and art is human expression. So if it's your art, use your human expression however you deem fit. To end this video, my take on new metal is basically what these people are saying. I think it's cool, and as some people said, it's kind of inevitable that it happened. And seriously, it's the best way to get someone into metal, especially if they like 2000s music, and who doesn't like 2000s music. I do not listen to it anymore as much. Like, I barely even listen to it because, I don't know, metal fucked my brain. I'm listening to heavier stuff now because new metal bores me, and I do still listen to Deftones from time to time because it is a bit more experimental in that sense, more shoegazy sometimes, but I do respect it because new metal is what got me into metal. I think it is the best gateway drug that there is. You guys, thank you so much for watching. I am CORNEA-SAL, and I'm not here saying I make new metal, but I make alternative music. So if you're interested, go listen. This was playing in the background. I'm going to be releasing music soon. Not too soon, but soon. So if you're mad about my takes, go ahead, listen to my music and try to pick out what's wrong with it so you can counterattack even better. If you want to participate in some of these polls, you have my Instagram on the bio. I also stream on Twitch sometimes with my music or games. Scary games. My Patreon, which I yap in sometimes if you're interested in some behind the scenes and some demos possibly, especially to support a poor orphan girl here in Argentina. And of course, you have me here on YouTube, where I will always happy. Again, have a nice one, and I'll see you.